Hello. Today we are going to create a simple console application project, create a bank account class with simple methods, install NUnit and NUnit framework packages, write unit tests, run all implemented tests, unit test. We will start by creating a simple project, a console application project where we will use an example of how a bank account works, which is really relevant for this unit test topic as we will see later on in this video. We shall select the location where to save our project and then click OK. We will create a new class called account in that regard. We'll need a float value for the account balance as well as a minimum value for the balance for the transfers and withdrawals that are yet to come. The minimum balance can be any value you decide it's best. I'll put 10 there to be more clear and easy to remember further on. Then we have a constructor without any initialization of the balance when the object is first created, as well as another constructor where the account that was just created can have a certain balance to start with. Then, we need a getter for balance variable and another getter for minimum balance variable. And, like any normal bank, we need a deposit method that will add the amount to the existing balance of the account, and also, a withdraw method that withdraws the amount given as a parameter from the balance. Notice that there is no condition regarding the withdrawal from the account. Why? Because that will be another method. Then we also need a transfer funds method that will withdraw an amount of money from the account and deposit that amount into a destination account, still without any condition to be fulfilled. That means we could get an error if we do not have any minimum balance value to take into consideration, therefore we have another method called transfer minimum funds with same parameters as the ones from previous method. This time the method will return the destination account for further testing in the unit test. But this time it is verified if the balance account minus the amount that is to be withdrawn is greater than the minimum balance account. Only if that condition is true, the transfer takes place, otherwise, a not enough funds exception is thrown. That exception is not yet defined, so we will have an error in that regard, therefore we comment it for the time being. So in order not to get problems right now with the exception not being defined, we comment it. Build your project to check if everything is alright, then proceed with the unit test part. Now we will right-click on the project, go to Manage New Git Packages, select Browse and search for NUnit. As you can see, select the one that has a simple NUnit title, then click on Install in the right panel and click OK. Check if the package was successfully installed, then proceed with the next step. Now search in the browse for NUnit.framework as well and install it. Also check if the package was successfully installed. After that you are ready to run some tests. All we have to do is write those tests. Now we can run tests, but the tests are not yet defined, as you can see in the output window. So we add a new class called account test where our tests are going to be For this, we have to add the attribute called testFixture above the testing class so that the tests defined in this class will be recognized. As you can see, we must be using NUnit framework to make it work. We will declare a source account and a destination account in order to be able to perform some tests. Then we need to implement the setup, which is the initialization of the test. Here we initialize the source account and destination account with some random values of float type, of course. Then we define our tests by specifying the attribute test above the test method to be implemented. Also, we can declare the attribute category which will permit us to select the tests run in NUnit. We expect this test to pass, which is why the category is called pass. After the initialization of the account was done regarding the source and destination account, we will be doing some money transferring. We transfer 100.00 money from source, which has a balance of 200.00 money, to destination account, which already has a balance of 150.00 money because of the initialization of the accounts. So, 100 money transferred from source account to destination account that already has 150 money results in destination having a final balance of 100 plus 150 money, meaning a balance of 250 money. That means we expect the destination to have 250 money, and that's why we write assert dot are equal, and inside the method, the two parameters that we expect to be equal, in which case the test should pass. Also, after withdrawing 100 money from source, the source balance will be 200 money minus 100 money, meaning 100 money left, an expectation also verified with assert and are equal. There are many other types of verifications provided by assert class that are worth to be checked out. Now we write another test that we also expect to pass, which is why we put it into pass category. This time we provide the values to be the input parameters to the test method using test cases attribute and writing the values of the parameters in order. Right now we are going to write for 3 different scenarios, meaning 3 different input data. In this test method, we are checking the minimum transfer funds function from account class. As you can see, The parameters of this test function are going to get the values written in test case in the exact order they were written. We reinitialize the source and destination account to be sure the balancing of each one is 0. Then we deposit the values given as input. And we transfer funds, knowing the method transfer minimum funds will take into consideration the minimum balance value, which is 10, and that there cannot be less than 10 money into the source account that transfers funds from its account to destination account. Knowing the destination account has 0 balance in all 3 cases, the amount deposited in destination will also be the final balance account. Therefore we write another assert, where we expect that the amount deposited or the destination balance are equal. But what if we expect a test to fail? Well, then our test could be in the category fail. This time, what if we expect our test to throw an exception? We simply tell that to the test in the attribute section. Remember the commented exception in transfer minimum funds method in account class? Well, now it's the time when we use it. We will uncomment and copy the name of the exception and define it in account test class. The exception we define is of type application exception, with no body to the method, since right now it is not relevant. Now, back to the test we expect to fail. We use again some test cases to give certain values as input to this method. This method calls transfer minimum funds as well, and since we expect it to fail, we give it this name right here as well as the necessary parameters for source and destination deposit values and the amount of money to be transferred. We initialize again the source and destination account, so their balance will certainly be 0 to start with, then deposit the amount given by the first 2 parameters of the function. And we call transfer minimum funds from account class to make that transaction, which should throw not enough funds exception. Let's try another type of unit test, without having test cases, but using the combinatorial attribute which combines all method parameters. The values of parameters are given by using the attribute values followed by the values the first parameter will have, and do the same thing for the next 2 parameters. In this test method, we expect as well for it to fail and throw not enough funds exception because of the values we gave to source account, destination account and amount to be transferred from source to destination. You can't withdraw from an account any value, as minimum balance of value 10 is compared to the balance account after the withdrawal would take place. So, in a unit test we need a setup, which is an initialization of the objects we are about to use. Some tests we expect to pass and fail, using test cases or combinatorial for the input values of the tests. Then we rebuild the project and make sure everything is in order. Then we access test, run, all tests. You cannot select a single test to be run. The Test Explorer panel will open automatically if you have not already opened it. In the bottom of the panel we have the number of test scenarios that passed and failed. You can extend each test unit method and see all the scenarios run with that method, see which were the input values. There are details about what went wrong and why the test failed. For example, in the test method where we expected the test to fail by throwing not enough funds exception is signaled with red add failed test, because the expected exception was not thrown, meaning that the parameter values were in order, but the test failed because it did not behave as expected. If we don't declare that we expect the test to throw not enough funds exception, which it doesn't, the test passes successfully. If we want the test to actually throw not enough funds exception, we must edit the input values so the exception will occur. So we edit the input values so that the exception will be generated. Have in mind the fact that source balance minus amount to transfer must be less or equal to 10 in order to get the exception thrown. If we want the test to actually throw not enough funds exception, we must edit the input values so the exception will occur. Or change the fact that you expect to get the exception thrown by commenting it, thus expecting all tests to pass and all input data to be valid. And there you have it. All tests passed. Now, when using assert and an error occurs, you can write what error message to display if the result of assertion is not true. In this case, we are comparing a float variable to an account variable and they are obviously objects of different types. The source code for account class and account test class can be found at the link in the description below, on GitHub. Thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful. Any feedback is appreciated.